Okay, so welcome to Coach Russ Hewitt, who's joining me today. Hi, Russ. How are you?
How you doing, Simon? I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. So we're going to go straight into it with sort of linebacker fundamentals and sort of linebacker work. So, would you linebackers in sort of pass coverage? What are you teaching? Sort of pattern matching type stuff?
We're treating multiple coverages. We're trying to teach some young men, and at the NFL Academy, we're in a situation where we have crossover athletes, some stunning athletes, and people that have played possibly 5-on-5 because of their age, or some of them have played 9-on-9 football, but very little 11-on football. And we've got some Europeans that are in too. So our structure and teaching has been to make sure we service and they teach them the sport they need to know. So with our coverages, it's the simple approaches where we start with man-to-man, but we want to build their knowledge base of how they can run different coverages. So over time, we will make sure we run them all, as detailed as you can get. And because we have that opportunity of classroom, there's so many field sessions, 3 field sessions a week, you teach there. So we teach our coverages working through cover 1, cover 3, cover 2. In that process is teaching strong cloud, weak cloud, sky coverages and building through there as well. One thing I've noticed is a lot of players have a limited knowledge, even the ones that are a bit experienced coming in. We had, so really your question was, what do we do? We're teaching understanding of their knowledge of what the offense is trying to achieve on them, the coverages, the formations, and how they're trying to leverage us with plays or combinations. And we don't necessarily just pattern match or zone drop. We try and work a combination of the two. We've been blessed to have a lot of coaches come through the program to visit. So Coach Aidan Durd's been around and gone into great detail what the Atlanta Falcons do. And then, with the skill and the coaching level we've got, Coach Tony Allen, Marvin Allen, and then the offensive coaches there that have played a lot deeper, myself and Noel Scott are the other assistant coach on defense. So we try and build from there. So there's no real direct way of saying it. We're making sure they understand how they're going to be leveraged, how they're going to be threatened, where their threats are. There are zone requirements, so what they're going to line up to. And we try and teach it in a base knowledge that they work out what the formation is, player coverage, what we believe, because obviously the offense are teaching at the same level where they're trying to teach and take advantage of what we're giving them. So it's a backwards and forwards. The offense will progress and continue to get better and add plays and execute better. And then defensively, we kind of more of a staircase to learning with them, because we have to get used to being attacked so they can get used to it, get their eyes right. And then we kind of fight back, because you start to challenge the offense to, you get an understanding. If we get to a point of competing and winning it again, because that's the nature of the beast, then they add, and then it's another challenge, and it's another learning, and it's another thing. So that's really how we've been working. But if you want to get into any specific detail, then I'm open to questions. But that's how we've been teaching. So they want to get a base knowledge. So if they go somewhere, next step on, because we're only in high school, they have a strong foundation of knowledge, a strong foundation of understanding, and then they build from there.
Oh, perfect. So I'm actually going to take it back a bit then, if you don't mind, and sort of talk about do you do sort of everyday sort of drills for fundamentals, or?
Yeah, we have pretty good setup. We have probably a 2.5 hour practice. I say that because we have an element of pre-practice. So you get the players back into their helmets at the moment, pads when we're allowed to. And we are being allowed to, we just keep them out of contact because of the circumstances of COVID. We basically get them out, warm them up, loosen them up. I've got everyday's drills. We do everydays, then we jump straight into installation, and it's defensive only installation, where offense doing their own offensive only. We're rep against ourselves, teaching at a teaching pace, making sure everyone gets on the field, because we are blessed with good numbers, something that probably most British teams struggle with. So we have great numbers per unit. And then our training structure, then we get into warm up, individual. From individual, we have one-on-ones. One-on-ones will work into a pass pro for the offense and defensive line. when we're permitted to do contact, which we can't currently do. We have inside run, then we have 7-on-7 same time, and then I have linebackers in both groups, and then we get into 7-on-7 and then team. So that's our structure of the day. In our individual, I'm always working on currently changing direction. We're trying to make sure that they're doing their zone drops. They're understanding how to relate to a threat. So basically making sure we stay active with regard to our eyes in the backfield, making sure that our feet are right. So we're taking, don't read step as much anymore, I suppose you would say. I think you'd like pop your feet, like your feet are on fire. Take your time to make a read, understand, and then understand that puts you behind leverage in a passing game. So then we talk about exit angles, work on zone drops. So rather than just zone spot or drop to a spot or immediately pattern match, we're trying to work around making sure we initially relate to their threats, and then we work what we're getting, what combination of routes they're seeing and getting. So they're working their eye cycles correct. So that's my main focus been this first term at school, because we're really limited in doing physical contact because of the COVID circumstances. We stay active with regard to tracking the hip and other talks I've seen you do recently. So we stay active on an individual there, making sure that we're not coming away from that. We're linebackers, but the limitation of being able to hit right now is, pushed us into more of a coverage philosophy, making sure 7-on-7s are active. We work that way.
So jumping ahead a bit, I was going to ask you about block destruction, but I guess you do not even use bags at the moment?
We can, so permitted under the circumstances, you can use freestanding equipment. So we're blessed to have sleds. So we definitely work against sleds. And then again, so we're pretty blessed because the players get given equipment. They get given uniforms. They got gloves. We have medical checks for them and everything else because of the way the new life's gone right now. So they're medically checked, they're temperature checked before they get on the bus, before they travel to the venue. Everyone's preventative. All the coaches are PPE'd. We have to wipe down the equipment so we can use it. I just don't want to come out and say that we do, because then people are questioning, well, what the hell? So we have to wipe it down every time you use it.
Sure.
But we do have the equipment. So yes, block destruction we managed to work on. But then you're working against a sled delivery, and then trying to work hands a lot. I've seen some really good clinics with regard to you're using either a bean bag, boards, and all different things. 8x2 boards or something like that, so they can hand strike and play. We stay active with that and understanding, and then how you zone drop. So how do you collision a threat? How do you work to your leverage, and how do you play through? So, for example, a hook or a buzzer in coverages. Are you hooking and relating to your flat, or your zone, or are you buzzing through into your flat? And then how do you play there, and how do we make contact? Because we are allowed permitted to work out and have fleeting contact like flag football, when you come together, but you're not physically tackling and taking to ground. So that's how we've worked everything. We the physical, the only demand we don't have, and I haven't been able to get into enough, is physical tackling. You're only hitting a sled, you're only hitting a pop-up bag, wiping it down and using that. We're not hitting bodies yet because of the circumstances. We're all hoping to get into that in January, and this lockdown's obviously put that on the back burner. And then we'll carry on communicating with BAFA and DCMS about safe ways of returning when we can. So we will manage to maintain stage 4, but we want to get that stage 5C or 6 to be able to actually work out and hit.
Yeah.
The football.
So I bet the players are dying to get into tackling.
They're frosting at the mouth. Like I said to you, we got a lot of players. We manage their repetitions and then manage their field time. It's make it competitive as you can. But I've got 14 linebackers, and there's 10 returning, 4 from this year. Absolute studs. We only work at a thud level. We don't take anyone to ground. We're only in helmets. We're not hitting with pads. But saying all that, we were teaching inside run last year without these restrictions before our equipment showed up. Just sitting the linebackers at 7 yards on inside runs. We're not hitting and filling, but we are getting our eyes right and our reads right, and managing the tempo and just trying to train like professionals do, like you would see the NCAA or NFL teams do that. So we play at full speed, but you just play smart and safe and don't take your foot. But yeah, we've had a few collisions and a few playing fast and getting to the spot. So we're really excited about putting pads on for some of these young men because they're ready to go.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we always talked about sort of learning to practice is one of the key skills early on. Learn how to do it really fast, but really safely. So.
And so you always worry about it because you can't contact right now and you can't hit. And I just try and use as much knowledge as I can and reach out to many people. So Coach John Brown would say Michigan, I know he's just left the Wolverines, but he would work at full speed. They'd only work at thud level. And then when he gets into his individual time and make sure he does all the correction there, use a mat, use bags, and get into the contact and taking people to the ground. So you actually maintain your individual time. So last year, that's what we did. I tackled probably for 7 to 10 minutes every day in my 15 to 20 minute segment, depending on our schedules, making sure that multiple tackling, 1-man tackling, 2-man, 3-man tackling processes, how you track. So yeah, we do a lot, and we have the equipment where we can actually use mats, save the players' bodies. I suppose it's the way you see with the Dartmouth University, where they had their coaching clinic tape, where lots of opportunities to tackle, opportunities of hitting without actually hitting man on man. And then that interacts when you get into sevens and team, where you're playing at thud level, because thud level has a tendency to rise players up.
Yeah.
They don't run through, they stop their feet, they get to a point of contact, and trying to get someone to play through and trust the coaches to blow the whistle right, save your teammate. So we're worried about that. But then when you get to games, you want to be live. So that's how we marry it when we actually do get back in. So I put an emphasis on tackling, making sure we're taking the ground, being live, using bags. We do hit each other, occasionally, but we manage that through our contact periods during the week. When you go back-to-back days, or if you go 3 times a week, you have to manage their bodies as well, because the physical side of it. How much conditioning do we do on a day? How much lifting have they done? What body work are they doing? What are they doing in the gym? To how we manage it. So all that gets planned through, and we're blessed to have some pretty special Riddell equipment too. So we got the Insight technology. So it's all the helmet sensors and telling you whether you're hitting right or if you're hitting too hard and all those type of things. So
all right.
Yeah, kind of working at different, so all that allows us to play at that level, but it really does aid you with making sure the players remain safe.
Absolutely, keeping them healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go back to your read step, because that's something I've seen a real transition from, and I just want to sort of emphasize to the listeners or viewers, the bouncing or just like hovering on your feet rather than stepping.
We basically play out of a 40 front defense, just an over and under even type of front, playing a 4-3 is a philosophy, but you're matching up to formations just like you would see in college or the pros. So if they have a single back and spread you out, you're moving one linebacker from the box to apex, just remaining a 6-man box, or playing your structures that way. So our alignments are slightly different than you probably would naturally see. So I think if you watch some NFL film, you'll see some mics now sliding back, playing almost at 7-yard depth. They don't play flat like you've seen in the past. And we work on a structure of making sure, obviously, we're gap sound, making sure that you can play your gap. Are you open? Is the gap open? Are you covered up to that? And then we play from there. But our philosophy is a matter of popping our feet. Rather than stepping forward, changing your depth, changing your leverage while you're reading, we try and keep hot feet, pop our feet, and relate. And you probably have to pop your feet 2 or 3 times. Some pros will do it. College, you see it a little bit more technique-wise, because they main with technique, keeping hot feet, and then just taking time to get your reads through the offensive line, that triangle of offensive line to the back and the QB to get your read, to find out whether you feel there's a mesh, if it's going to be a handoff, what's the O-line blocking like, are they in there, are they working almost in phone booths across the front, blocking the front, which dictates more of a pass, the backing up hi-hat type of approach, or whether you see them moving, crossing, wrapping, pulling, down blocking. And that's what we try and teach. We try to get a focus of trying to find the QB, the ball, where the back is, but then narrow focus and trying to keep everything in front. And you're teaching people that have no relation whatsoever because they've never played the game. Right, so they have to learn these things, and they're learning, teaching their eyes is number one. So we pop them on their feet so they don't change their leverage, they don't come downhill, they don't back away naturally. Take that time to read, and then plant an exit or fill or gap fill, whatever you feel you need. So that's what we try and do. It's important for them to understand formations off that, because once you align, Will's at the box, Sam and Mike aligned as they need to be on the offensive line, you need to know, where was the tight end? Was it a slot receiver? Are we in trips? Are they in spread? Is it two back? Because that all changes how you align and play. But then you need to know where your thread is. So that's the things we teach. We play at a 5-yard depth. Most people would. But then you need to make sure that if you're taking seconds to read, or a second to read what's going on in front, and it is pass, that receiver's got out on you, and where he was is changed. Your exit angle has to change, or your collision point has to change depending on what coverage we're running. So that's what we try and work on every single day. I can show you film, and 99% of the time they run it, but as soon as we get an inside run, they stop popping their feet and they fill a hole. And as soon as we're in 7-on-7, they don't pop their feet and they're out of it. That they cheat and they work that type of thing. We pick it up on film, because it goes wrong as soon as they get into team. Yep. The consistency has to be doing it every day, making sure you maintain it, because if they don't do it, they're wrong. They're underneath routes. They're if they try and feel automatically thinking run, they have to know what they actually see. So they've got to trust their eyes and then build it from there. So that's how we teach with regard to our pop step. Old days used to do like, you step down, right? 1 or 2 steps down. Just feel that puts you in a different position, because it changes your exit angle, changes what you are in coverage, and this is a way of working our reads.
Perfect. Yeah. I know time flies and it just seems, but I see the stance is getting narrower as well. Linebackers hop in, and it's just like, I guess, more open field stuff, more faster.
Yeah. You definitely feel that, and that's tough to you watch some game pass, or you watch this film and you try and show the players what the next level is, but when the higher they get, the more athletic they get, the more physical studs they are, they want to hide things. They want to be able to change how they move to be more responsive, but we're trying to get our guys to learn the basics of the game. But it will go, the standard technique and the standard teaching remains the same. If they're not low enough in their stance, and their stance is straight and loaded correctly, they're going to have limited in range. Their footwork's going to be poor, right? If they're too high, they're always going to take that gather step before they open, so they're going to end up heel tapping. So, and if you can stay consistent with pedaling, just working, relating, and trying to pedal, if you're too high, your stride's going to be short. You need to be down and low. So we try and maintain that on all the teaching. How they move and how they move with formations, or formation motions change. We make sure they try and move the same way and be ready and responsive, because what they see on TV is a lot of absolute athletic studs, very smart individuals at elite level, and they can't do that until they know how to do it. They can't do that until they play at that level. So, yes, it's quite frustrating when you're trying to teach. But once you find them, I've got a PowerPoint at the start of the year. How do you get into the stance? How you line up? And you're talking about Brian Urlacher and Ray Lewis are the only great photos I can find online of a player in what you would class as a great linebacker stance. And that's how much the game's changed. Probably Wagner from Seahawks is someone that will line up correctly, as you would want them to line up. That's the film we use a lot, and Coach Adam and the Falcons. But again, the Falcons do play with a mic at 7 yards. He's playing pass first because of the way the NFL is now, and he will come late and feel late. So the whole game is changing quite dramatically.
Sure. And I mean, I don't envy you teaching defense to people that have never played defense before and at that level. So yeah. Reads for the linebacker. Do you read flow and under keys, or how do you do that?
Yeah, we're flow read. We're trying to make sure they can understand first from the offensive formation how many the backs, the level of the back to how they're aligning with the quarterback. All right, we want to know whether it's fast flow, direct flow, or if we can get counter.
So can I just stop you there? Would you like to just talk the listeners, viewers through what those are, please?
So basically, it's about how the offensive. So first of all, is the offensive formation. So, do we have a tight end? Are they is the tight end closed or is it open? So is there a threat? So have they given us a front? So it's not just the 5 offensive linemen. Have they put an extra? Have they created a strength to one side? So we can align our defensive line there, because the linebackers have to know that. They have to understand where the threat of strength is in the run game, because they have to set the front either under or over to suit. So set the 1-3 tech and then line up from there. Or if it's even, then are we going to play to the back or away from the back? So if it's even, are they both on guards or playing balanced as a defensive front? And then are we going to slant, or are we going to move towards the strength, away from the strength, to the back, or vice versa? All game planning and all tendencies what the offense will do. That sets up how the gaps get aligned and which backer has which gap. Okay, so that's the first thing we try and teach with regard to formation understanding. The linebackers have to call that every snap. Even if we're in 7-on-7, they see the formation, there's a tight end down there, a cone, not an offensive line. They need to make sure they can close the front to or away from that. That's their first thing. That allows them to line up correctly. Next, their eyes go through the guard tackle or the guard center guard center guard to the backfield, because in run game you'll get feel or motion of what's happening with the offensive line, or how they blocking. Are we getting a pull? Are we getting a wrap? So we try and teach that skill. That's the eye discipline. And from there, then your narrow focus is to the back, is to the handoff, while feeling this movement to find out whether we get a flow, a direction of the play. And we don't know what that is, because even with a single back offset or a quarterback in the middle here, we could still get fast flow away, speed option style. But we could also get outside zone. We could also get, there's all different things. You can get pitch sweeps, you can get tosses. So it's relating to what their threat is and what their formation, what the play will be. Fast flow is exactly as you think it will be, is flow to one direction very fast. All right, we have an understanding of direct flow where you feel that's coming down at you. All right, there we don't do too much of it because it's a different type of a quarterback. But if you get a read zone or a zone where you get cross reads and cross flow, and then we build and work from there. So that's the teachings we go with the guys, and then obviously you have a risk of counters, and it's how you relate and keep leverage. Yeah,
you call that split flow or divided flow?
Split flow. Yeah, split flow. And we're working cross reads on that split flow and trying to make sure they understand. So, but that we haven't got into much of that because we've covered classroom, covered it in field reads, because it's still gap sound. And then because the offense we run against every week is very diverse. It's multiple, because you don't want to just line up in a play in a formation and run plays. And because you're trying to achieve levels of development for each player, yes, we want to play games. Yes, we're working towards those games as soon as COVID permits it, and we want to be able to compete and play very well against some elite talent. But you have to teach our players a structure that they can keep moving on and they can keep developing. So that's what we truly believe in as a staff. We do challenge them a lot, so that's how we work with regard to it. The keys would be, probably need a whiteboard or a different video time, but it's those times where if you get a quarterback and a back away, the only thing we're really expecting is that, cross read or fast flow away. So if you're lining up as a linebacker in the center of the field and you're lining up a linebacker over here, you're expecting the back to you in the uncovered gap where it is, or you're expecting fast flow away. And that's the terminology and understanding we get from them. If you're you're middle of the field and you're this back to the run, your linebacker to the back, you're going to be outside edge. You have a B gap responsibility, but if it's fast flow away, you can leave that and work out to the D gap, and the mic will work to you and help you with your B gap, and we'll flow across the formation with the backside wheel playing counter. That's how we would teach, because we have a defensive end, a C gap. It depends on, so you have to be clear. They have to understand early on how the D line line up, to what creates gaps for them and their responsibilities, but then also to fast flow can cancel that by trying to not be out leveraged. So if you're this, I keep saying to you, the middle of the field, linebacker here, and the running back's with you, you mustn't get out leveraged. You must play side hip, and the mic is then going to play backside hip. Vice versa, if they try and run the zone, then he's coming across to you. You're trying to make sure you can scrape and clear paint if you can, and try and get to that gap. And then as we progress with just those basic reads, then the offense will start adding a down block with a puller, a down block with a trap, or maybe just a straight puller across the formation. So they then have to learn how to field it. That's all out 10 or 11 personnel, like one running back, one tight end, or one running back, no tight end. Then we get into 20 personnel and 21 personnel and make sure we teach them those as well, because it brings the linebacker into the box. So that's how we teach. That's the emphasis we put on making sure they get their skill set as a linebacker. And then you've got to marry that between how much run games you do and how much pass games you do, and what threats are you in the pass game, because we started talking coverage, but that's how we play. So if you get direct flow, it's a little bit easier, because now you just vice in and try and squeeze near side hip to you, not being out leveraged. If it comes at the B gap, or if it comes at the A gap, depending on which side the formation is, those are the things we teach. And that's how we try and build their knowledge. We do it through individual, we do it for inside run, and then we do it in team. And they do that every single day. So every practice has those elements. So you can, because we can do it through installation. Install plays. They can make sure they understand how it fits against bins, so they know their gap by formation and where the play goes. And then we also do it by using blessed with how many linebackers they have. So you can put it in multiple groups, an individual run, put 3 guys up. They can work the block scheme to how they feel and how they fit. And then that integrity comes together with myself and Coach Niall. Well, we get the opportunity of an hour classroom, so you can get before every practice. Sometimes it's just me with my linebackers. Sometimes it's me and my Coach Marvin with the defensive backs in the pass game. And sometimes it's me and Coach Niall with the defensive front, so they can start understanding that structure. It's quite daunting when they first come in, because they know nothing.
Yeah.
And first year was definitely, we had 38 players that never even put a helmet on out of 85. So that's very daunting for some of them to understand and to try and learn the skills. But their knowledge, if you challenge them, their knowledge does grow. British game could have all this knowledge, and it's just a matter of time with them and how much you believe in teaching it. So I think that could definitely help. I coach a Great Britain as well, and that turns into a more of an all-star program, which you want it to be more development, because you want these players to learn. But you can only go with their 5-on-5 experience, their 9-on-9 experience, and what they've learned. And you get, yes, we do a complete day under Coach Nelly. We get a complete day with them, but you're still only getting 45 minutes of individual in an entire day camp, trying to install stuff that you may need at the international level. But you have a structure where they don't have the classroom time with you, they don't have the in-depth time. So that's the only thing that's probably come out of COVID now, is using these tools to try and teach and understand. I've sat down with young men that didn't understand or hadn't been explained to them. They understood cover 3, they understood cover 2, but they were playing in the middle of their zone. middle of their spaces that are drawn up on a play card or a sheet. They didn't understand how to relate to a threat. Some of them, bless them, played sky cover 3, but didn't realize there's a cloud strong or a cloud weak cover 3. So that you do have a shortening of knowledge. So we do have that opportunity to teach it, but that's the one thing I've noticed in the British game, that we can try and help get a better understanding. And it's not a problem, but it's not helped by them playing 5-on-5 or 9-on-9.
Yeah, sure.
You play 9-on-9 football, you could play a 2-4 front, you could play a 3-3 front, you could play a 3-2 front. You understand? So, and it then change, and then whatever you do there dictates what you do on the back end. You know, with regard to when you're playing 9s, the offense is a little bit simpler. You drop the tackles, and everything remains the same. So offensively, you could do the whole. You could come in and play double tight or double wing, because the structure is the same. You just lost the 2 tackles. But defensively, it depends on what players you have and how you want to play. So we play against teams at the Seahawks and the Silent Seahawks, where you end up with a 2-man front, a 3-man front, a 3-man front with 2 9s. And when next week you're playing against a 3-man front on your guard and tackles, it's like a bear front. So that's where the understanding of when 9-on-9 football to 11-on-11 can be different for these young men. Some of them have a knowledge, but they don't have enough. So you have to nurse them. So so my teaching has always been for university, for youth and junior, and now the academy has always been make sure they know, teach them, and then build them from there and develop them.
Definitely, yeah. And I find the sort of flow reads are a lot more instinctive for the linebackers. I think they pick it up a lot quicker.
I think it allows them to play fast, and once they understand a bit about strength and formations in front of them and how they can be leveraged to how your defensive philosophy or your defensive playbook then builds for them so they can see it, then it allows them then to narrow down their eyes and how they are, and then allows them to play fast. And rather than some old school style where you're going to gap fill, but then if it flows away from you or flows fast, and then we coach the front exactly the same way. We're trying to work penetration, but if your tackles are trying to penetrate, and does a Great Britain as well, if you get penetration and you find this fast flow away, this tackle immediately tries to wrap and go down the heel line of the guard. That automatically helps. If he's B gap, for example, it automatically closes the A gap if you can work and understand fast flow away. If his formation's the other way and he into the A gap, he can close the opposite A gap. It allows those linebackers to now play a little bit faster. It creates different cutback lanes for the linebacker that's probably out the box to come and flow and play, and that's how we try and structure it. It's not so easy to probably see with coach talking coach to coach. It's not so probably easy to see because it's not on a whiteboard or on a film clicker. But that's the structure of it. So you can, that's why we believe in that. And as long as you remain integral, so ends are trying to get to the level of the back or level of the run game, and the backside is trailing. So backside ends trying to trail. So you're taking care of the BCR, which is a boot, counter, reverse, the boot, the counter, and the reverse coming back at you. So anything coming back against the grain. So they're playing at that depth, that trail depth, to play the depth of the football. That allows that linebacker to come, no, that's taken care of. I'll play the flow, the counter. I'll play backside and see if it cuts against the grain. If not, I'll just pursue. So it's they play it slow. They open up and fire as they get their reads and understanding. That's how we believe in playing.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, Russ. I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. I didn't have to do a lot, which is even better.
I wasn't too sure. I saw James's talking, I saw Jason's talking, and they were excellent. I wasn't too sure if I could fill 30 minutes, but no, yeah, great questions. And we're talking what we love, right? So really appreciate you asking me on. It's been good fun. And any other time, I'd love to come back on.
Fantastic. And there's definitely going to be some part 2s. So thank you.
You're welcome.